So after we had the baby, had the job, my manager at that company referred me to their realtor because I was looking to buy a house for the time. And then my realtor said, hey, you're really good at people. Have you ever thought about real estate? So while I was working at that company on the side, I would study for real estate. So I stayed there and probably transitioned into real estate in 2001. That was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Welcome to the SGV Master Key, a show where you will hear personal stories of triumph over failures and how others successfully navigated the unique landscape that is the San Gabriel Valley. What makes us different? Well, just like you, we have chosen the San Gabriel Valley for our home or businesses or both. We believe it is the people and small businesses that make this community great, and we love to share their stories with you. We always encourage your questions and feedback, and you can find all of our contact information at sgvmasterkey.com. Here are the hosts for the show, Russell Mono and Scott Warmoth.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key. Thank you for joining us. We hope to bring you another great episode today. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and follow us. Scott, the SGV, we've talked about many places and some of them, how they have evolved over the years. But what about the evolution of Alhambra, right? Alhambra, that little corridor where the theater used to be, Garfield Theater, how amazing that's transformed.
Yeah, the Main Street has just really blossomed, into something. When I moved here, which was, almost 40 years ago, Alhambra was a very quiet little suburb, really.
Sure.
And it's really changed, Main Street being probably the bigger change than anything. But yeah, and we haven't talked about Alhambra.
Yeah. Do you remember, I remember the biggest change that was the movie theater, right, on Garfield, and I guess it's Garfield and Main. Once that went in, that whole area just sort of transformed.
That's
around
right.
that.
Another big change was Valley Boulevard, because when I moved here, it was, I think there was a Norms there, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but, it was all these very sort of typical American coffee shops. And
Bob's Big Boy.
Bob's Big Boy, that's what it was.
Then it became Noodle Planet.
Yes.
Or Noodle World.
Which was just a significant change.
Right.
That alone tells the story of what was happening.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, that connection to Alhambra is one that our guest shares. His name is Ryan Asao, and he's a realtor with Keller Williams Executive in Alhambra. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Welcome. Yeah.
So, Ryan, we mentioned your connection to Alhambra, but what is your connection to the San Gabriel Valley?
So I was born and raised in the San Gabriel Valley. So 44 now, but I went to Double City High School. My office is now in Alhambra, but I've grown and seen this area change throughout the years. So so when I grew up in Temple City, I know when I went to elementary school, it was pretty much predominantly Caucasian. And now it turned 40 years later, it's pretty much 70% Asian. So the market the whole area has really transformed. But it's really one of the safest areas. I love the area. Schools are great. That's why it's still a great place to live.
And were your parents also, were they born here or were they from another country?
So I'm Japanese, full Japanese, third generation. So my parents were born here as well. And they grew up, I was born actually in Pasadena at Huntington Memorial.
Oh,
so
okay.
my parents raised us in this area too, and we grew up in this area as well.
Okay. So you're the third guest.
Sansei.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, Sansei, that's right. So your parents are Nisei. So what was it like to grow up as a third-generation Japanese in Temple City?
So one thing I think that happened, being Japanese-American, my grandparents actually were in the internment camps. So one of them was in Manzanar, another one was in White Mountain, I think in Illinois. So when the Japanese that stayed in America after, they were let out of those concentration camps, we became really Americanized. So again, they didn't speak Japanese in the household and stuff like that. So that's the one thing I think we lost. But it's helped me in business because I remember one of my college professors once upon a time told me, this is a 40-year-old white man's world. So again, as soon as you can turn into that, and I tell people it's like the the circle of trust. So once you're in the Fokker circle of trust, then good things happen. So I've worked my I've always been different because I've been younger usually, and one of the first Asians in organized real estate when I got involved at the California Association of Realtors and National Association of Realtors. So I'm in leadership in the industry, but I remember I'm always trying to really, trying to enlighten people on our culture and stuff like that. So it's been an interesting life, but I've had some really good experiences, growing up in a small town in Temple City. Yeah. And again, I just enjoy being,
Boy, that perspective is really different. And you would have a different perspective than a first generation
Correct.
Or second generation. But third generation, and to be told it's a 40-year-old white man's world.
That was from my college professor, though.
And it was at that time. But I can imagine, what if you said something like that today?
I think that was told to me about 20 years ago, but I think that it's still, if you look at the executives, it's changing little by little with diversity, and I know that's a big movement right now, is the DEI movement, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But I think that it's still run, if you look at most of the executives in most industries, it's still run by probably white males.
And so that's the perspective you look at it as.
Not that. I just know who holds the chips. And again, it's trying to figure out how to network and how to be invited into that group and accepted into that world.
That's really interesting. Yeah, it is a different viewpoint, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So again, I'm a networker, so I try to network with everybody, and I try to always make people think if they meet me or they, they're not used to, younger Asian people at the time. Yeah. I'm always trying to make a good impression. So they're like, hey, you know what? There are some nice Asians out there.
Do you deal with a lot of first and second generation people now, or are you
as clients?
Yeah, as clients.
Yeah, I do. So actually, so my team consists of my daughter, who's 24. So that's the reason I'm sitting here before you. So she's on my team. She's my marketing and transaction coordinator for our team. I have two partners. One of them is my cousin, Brent, who's also Japanese, and I think he's third or fourth generation possibly. And then my partner, Robin, who speaks 6 languages. So she helps, she speaks all the Asian, Chinese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Vietnamese. So she works on that Asian, probably more of the first generation, second generation buyers and sellers. So that's why she's a huge asset for me. It's similar to what I think you've done with your practice, correct?
That's right. I mean, it's been the Chinese market.
Correct.
That we grew up with the Chinese market growing up here. It was Taiwanese in Hong Kong, and now it's mainland Chinese. And
right.
I've just seen that change over 30 years.
I remember my mom lived in Monterey Park, and that was like the first area I think they all moved in, and then you saw all the signs change like literally overnight. Yeah.
Monterey Park was kind of the center of Chinese growth. Yeah.
Correct. Started here first, I think, and then it moved out.
Yeah. Definitely.
A lot of Japanese were in Monterey Park back in the day.
Oh, too. Yeah. Again, when I came here almost 40 years ago, I think I remember seeing more Japanese in Monterey Park than other groups, but obviously that's changed.
Yep.
They were in like a specific pocket, I would say up by like Brightwood.
Right.
Over there.
On the hill, kind of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then I think they sort of went to the South Bay, Torrance, Gardena.
Torrance, Irvine.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were in Gardena. I think they've migrated to like Torrance and Irvine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm interested in your experience from being descendant of people who were in internment camps. So one thing I always found interesting of my mom is that she's told me that she intentionally wanted me to be more American. She didn't put me into Japanese school.
Yeah.
She wanted me to do the American things, Boy Scouts, sports, on purpose. And she never really said why, but maybe it's...
I think it was that. I think our parents knew that. So a funny story, I'd love to meet this girl, and this is a girl that you should probably get on your show one day. A friend of mine knows the girl that was the first girl let out of the internment camps. She was 19, probably gorgeous, spoke very good English, and she was the beta test they let out. And where do you think that they put her? They put her in a city college, and they put her in Pasadena City College.
Oh, yeah.
So she's probably 90 something now. I think she might be still alive because a friend of mine still knows her.
Wow.
But they should write a book about her, because if she came out, they wanted to see how that, everybody accepted her. But because she was who she was, she made a good impression on everybody else, and they would let the rest of us out.
Oh, is that right?
That's
Boy, I never
so
knew.
I gotta
That's
find out her
almost,
name. But that girl is probably has a story, and that girl would be amazing. On
That's
your
a
show.
Jackie Robinson story.
That's a Jackie Robinson story, and she was
Yeah.
let out in the PCC, and I would love to hear what her experience is
Yeah.
on coming out and being the first one that, she was, again, if she did not do well, I don't think they would have let
That's
us
right.
out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is
so I forgot, I'll find
fascinating.
out the name, and I'll
Yeah.
follow up with you and let you know.
Yes,
Yeah.
please. That would be a fascinating story.
Yeah.
There should be a book about her one day. And I told her that she should write a
Right.
book.
Yeah. So your experience as a sansei in Temple City, not so much, you said mostly Caucasian there, right? So what led you on your path to, what you're doing today?
So my story is interesting. So I had the greatest life. My parents took care of me, good kid growing up in Temple City. Me and my wife at the time, she ended up getting pregnant at 19. So we had, so when that happened, luckily it wasn't in high school. It happened a little after high school. We got pregnant at a very young age. And basically I always tell people, well, I'll tell you about my models afterwards. But after we got pregnant, we got married. I got married at 19. And then at 20, we had the baby, and then I had to get a good job. So I was at a job making badges, actually, for a company that makes badges for, police officers, highway patrol, stuff like that. And it was kind of a dead-end job because, again, there was no future. I saw people, my uncle was actually the manager of that company at the time. So he gave me a good job. I got a decent pay because I needed to make money now because I had a child. I went to Mount Sac for community college, actually. So I'm still actually very involved with Mount Sac, so I could tell you about a story about them. So after we had the baby, had the job, my manager at that company referred me to their realtor because I was looking to buy a house for the time. And then my realtor said, hey, you're really good at people. Have you ever thought about real estate? So while I was working at that company on the side, because I'd have to cut dies, I was like a CNC programmer. So I'd program stuff and cut on, cut the badges on like a CNC machine. I would study for real estate. So I stayed there and probably transitioned into real estate in 2001. So that was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me because I always saw I wanted to work for myself. I didn't want to work for anybody else after seeing how that corporate world was. Again, my dad works for a company called Fish King, and he's been there since he was a kid. So if you know
That's
Fish
right.
King in Glendale, it's kind of an institution, but it's a retail shop. But my dad, he's the wholesale. He's been there since he was 16. So he's, he's part owner of Fish King. But I work for him too and see all the stuff that came out of his mouth when he was talking to chefs. So if you go to like Smitty's or Parkway Grill or Royal Chop House, that's my dad's fish.
Oh.
So he works with a lot of like the high-end restaurants and country clubs and stuff like that.
I forgot about that. We talked about that on the phone, and I was
Right.
like, it's such a small community, I guess. I'm into sushi, and so the sushi chef that I speak with, Kyoto-san, he owns Kyosuzu in Arcadia, but he tells me like he knows Nozawa and all the people, the chef, and they all go to the same place, and they know Fish King also. Yeah.
They usually go to the markets, but if they probably can't, then they know that Rich King has good fish, and they might order for them every once in a while. So
And
if they
that's
can't
your
get
father.
something. So that's my dad's company, yeah.
Oh, wow.
So he's still there. He's trying to get out of it and retire soon, but
Is he the tall individual?
no, that's John. So that's the son of Hank, who pretty much bought Fish King long time ago, back in like, I think maybe like the 60s or something like that. And then my dad basically worked there his whole life.
I see.
But he's Hank is his like cousin-in-law, because he married Nancy, who's my dad's cousin.
Okay. Have you ever been to Fish King?
No.
So it's on Verdugo, I think, in Glendale, sort of by the freeway.
Just north of the freeway, there's a mobile station. I think it's on Glendale Boulevard, maybe.
Or Glendale, yeah. And it's a fishmonger shop, but you can also get food there.
The food's really good. So they have a new sushi chef there, so they do like sushi burritos. But I tell people, for the price and the quality, if you never just to stop in for lunch, it's a really, really good place.
Yeah. So your daughter was your family, I guess, was a huge push or influence
Correct.
in what you're
so
doing
it gave
now.
me the flexibility because I needed to go to school at night. So I went to Mount Sac at night, was doing real estate during the day, and then I ended up graduating from Mount Sac, going to Cal State Fullerton. for business, because I was thinking about still getting into business, but real estate got too good. So then I decided just to keep my career as real estate. And when I look back at everything, I think it was my calling. So I'm really blessed to be where I am now. And real estate has really, done wonders for my family.
Nice. Well, Ryan, we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
So I bring a picture of my family, actually, my kids, because this is the reason I work so hard. So this is my daughter. She's now 24. My littlest son, Avery, who's 15. And then Elijah, who just graduated high school, who's 18. So this is when they were kids. I know it's a little janky, but I apologize for that. But I've kept that in my wallet this is for, ever since they were kids.
Oh, yeah. AYSO or something.
Correct. Me and my dad coached 800 kids in soccer. I used to actually coach high school soccer at Arcadia High School.
Oh, wow.
For JV a couple of years in varsity.
And did you coach AYSO in South Pasadena?
No, Temple City. So Region 98's where I grew up. And actually one of my friends, Jimmy Conrad, who would be a great person to come on your show too, because he's like a big YouTuber in the soccer world. He ended up playing UCLA, won a national championship, played in the MLS. And then the biggest thing is he played for the World Cup. He played for the U.S. and actually played.
Is that right? Wow.
And we lived through him. So he played for Kansas City Wizards. So every time that they'd come and play like the Galaxy, we'd have a huge, it started with 40 people, ended up with like hundreds of people, and his mom is awesome.
So did you say you coached with him, or you went to high school with him?
So my dad coached Jimmy, and when we were kids in AYSO at Temple City.
Your dad coached a
World Cup soccer player. So that's one of his claims to fame.
That is pretty neat.
And then I've coached with my dad probably about 800 kids. So ever since my kids were young, I've coached them all.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see some of my players that you've coached later in life, where you'll be at a ball game or something, or at a grocery store, and they'll be like, "Coach."
Yeah.
It's very rewarding, and to see how they're doing.
Yeah, I coached AYSO too.
Did you?
For probably 8 years. South Pasadena, though.
Nice. So we used to go heads with you guys.
Yeah, right.
But
I had to pull off out of. After once my kids got a certain age, I couldn't coach anymore because I don't know soccer.
Right. Yeah, I knew soccer, so I played at a high level. I think I was small, but if I didn't have the baby, I might have played maybe somewhere.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was feisty, so it's it's that little man syndrome that I have. So
wow,
you don't want to play against me. So I hate losing more than I like winning.
Oh,
and that's what all the greats say. But I just had a thing where you can't beat me, and I do whatever I can to
and
win.
It's like that with anything. Then
I take that into sport, into life, into real estate. I've learned a lot, and I teach this to my kids when I coach them. I said there's a lot of life skills you get from soccer. It's probably one of the best team sports. You have to figure out how to lose, get knocked down, pick yourself up, work hard. So again, I've really thought I've done a great job mentoring some kids through coaching.
Yeah. No, it's a great opportunity to have that connection.
Yeah, exactly. And what I've learned about from business, if the kids love you, then the parents absolutely adore you. So I've used it not as a way to get business, but just through the relationships, a lot of businesses come. And I have a lot of friends, lifelong friends from soccer.
And what's it like in real estate if you don't like to lose? I mean, how does that play out?
It's part of the world that we live in. So every year things will happen, or a family member will say, it's business. I don't want to, mix business with family. But I just always stay positive. So my motto, so the two models I got in life from having a baby young is no matter what life throws your way, you roll with the punches and you make your own luck. So again, I've used that in my world too, is just basically you always try to just, do your best for your clients. And I think there's things that I could probably do better as a business owner. But I think I'm just more about relationships. So as long as I've been blessed where if I do a great job for my clients, then they usually come back to me. Mm-hmm. Now the world's different because of social media and all that other stuff. So I'm thinking about stuff like podcasts or, I have a lot of stuff that I could talk about and probably educate people because I'm an educator. So that's what I do now is more just focus on educating my clients, always doing the right thing. Mm-hmm. And luckily, I have a lot of loyal clients.
Nice.
Yeah, you have a very positive attitude, and that's... Of course, you have to have that when you're in sales.
Of course.
You're always butting your head against failure or rejection.
Exactly. Right? Especially in this market. So we're shifting right now with the rates going up to where there are.
Right.
Again, it's shifting into more of a normal seller's or buyer's market. It was a seller's market. Still low inventory in the market. At the end of the day, I think that buyers are kind of taking a stand right now because properties have sold so high and way over appraisal values at times in the last probably 18 months.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you learned to roll with the punches. So on your trajectory from when you first started, what are some of the things that are challenges that you've encountered along the way?
In the beginning, I think that I was young, so I looked like a 16-year-old trying to sell someone's biggest asset. So that was a challenge. And if I look back at my picture, I look like a kid when I put that picture on my thing. I had like frosted tips and all that fun stuff from that first picture. But I think I've always embraced who I am. So again, I think that's one of the strengths that I have is, and that's what I tell a lot of these young kids is, believe in yourself. Never tell anybody that, you're not good enough. But I think that those are some of the challenges, being young, and especially in trying to get business, to do real estate. And I was doing door knocking. I'd given out fly swatters back in the day. So the market has also changed too, because in the beginning when I got into the industry, it was a very competitive industry and still is, but then nobody shared secrets. And there's new companies like Keller Williams and other people that are learning to like say, hey, look, it's time to share the wealth of knowledge. So I'm one of those people that really try to give back and try to educate. So I'm really involved with a thing called YPN. So that's Young Professionals Network. It's now I'm a little past that. So that was my calling, and that's how I was the first Japanese president for the Arcadia Association of Realtors in 2012. I think I'm still the youngest president of the association as well. And I've always tried to, break those barriers and try to make our people look good.
Now that's Arcadia, but you're based in South Pasadena, Alhambra, right?
More the San Gabriel Valley. So I grew up in Temple City, live in Monrovia, offices in Alhambra. So we do probably like a radius around Arcadia, like a 10-mile radius around Arcadia, LA, along the foothills. Yeah. Otherwise, we'll refer it to the right agent.
How did you overcome? Surely they didn't say, "Oh, you're too young. I don't want to hire you." But you must have felt it, right? So how did you overcome that when you couldn't get older faster?
So I think what I've learned too, because I've learned a lot of stuff in my 44 years, it's money's in the follow up. So as long as you're persistent and I think I still have always been a good job at staying in touch with my clients. Back then there was no text. I don't think we'd probably call people, so I'd probably follow up with them. And again, that's one of the tips I've heard is the money is always in the follow up. So if you follow up with somebody, you keep on following up until they tell you no.
I see. And so what else happens in your career? So you're on this trajectory to where you are now, and you're learning these lessons along the way. What other things did you encounter?
You know what?
Is it easy to work with family?
It is. I mean, well, you work with one family member and you do a good job for them, and then they're like, oh, Ryan did a good job for us. So BNI has been really good for me. I don't know if you've heard of BNI. It's a networking group. So I have different columns that bring me business, and I do a lot of things that I love to do now. So I love to fish, love the golf, love the network. So I try to, stay involved with the stuff that I love.
Golfing. I remember my dad came home once with a golf bag, and I was like really curious because he didn't golf. And he said, at that time for the Japanese company, you had to golf. You had to go, and this was like a business thing, which I'm sure a lot of companies, or a lot of transactions are still done out there or relationships made. But yeah, I just found it bizarre that my dad had to do so many things simply because he worked for a Japanese company.
That's interesting. What I tell people about golf is that's why I love to play golf, or we should play one day, because I tell people, if you can hang out with someone for 3.5 hours, 4 hours, and not get sick of that person, someone told me a great pro tip. Where if you go to lunch with somebody, and after that hour, within that hour, you're like looking at your clock and you want to leave, and that's probably someone that you don't want to maybe be in a long-term relationship with, because you're already getting bored with them within that first hour. But if that conversation goes long and you're having a good, engaging conversation, maybe that's something that you could do business with.
That's interesting. I trained several pro golfers.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Well, I need you to help me out.
And I had a conversation with one of them, and we were talking about a former client of mine who I ended up having to ask to leave. And we were talking, and this came up after that, and I was sharing with her an experience I had with him where he was doing a putting exercise with me, and you put it from like 10 yards, 20 yards, 30 yards, and you had to sink the putt to advance, something like that, okay. Right? And I'm not a golfer, so he's just showing me this. Mm-hmm. And the rule was you couldn't go beyond one golf club past the hole.
Okay.
And then you had to, if you did, you had to go, you moved back one. Those were the rules, right? That. So it's like a little game.
It's like a ladder, right?
And so I was beating him, and then he was you couldn't come short of the hole either. You had to go
past.
Yeah, and that was also a foul. Then you would move back.
I like that.
And so he came short, but then he didn't move back. And when I told the pro golfer that, she's like, "Oh, I would have stopped being friends with him right away."
Golf
like,
also
wow.
teaches you honor, so you'll know if someone's a cheater on the golf course depending on how he plays the game.
I guess, because that's what she told me. She's like, and she was dead serious. She was like, "Wow, I would have immediately stopped." And I was like, "Wow."
So there's a lot of honor involved on the golf course, isn't there? I mean, you could
There
cheat
should
pretty
be,
easily.
but there's also those bad actors like in any industry too.
Really?
Right.
What do they do to cheat? Yeah, I mean, they put down the wrong score, or they move their ball.
They don't count all their strokes. They might move the ball. My dad told me one that's funny that I don't that some of his friends do. They put a green lifesaver down when they pick up the ball, and then they put it on top of the green lifesaver, and it gives it like almost like a T. Whereas and I was like, get out of here. I've never seen anybody do that. But my dad said his friends do that sometimes.
Are they playing for money?
They're playing for big money.
Oh, okay.
And they're changing money after every hole, and that's what slows up the game. So
after every hole, they
don't trust each other. My dad says so. Then they're literally like playing for money. So I just played with my dad for Father's Day, and we were playing for not big money, but good money. But we don't change after the hole because that slows the game up. But if you're playing for big money against certain people, they might not remember or pay you, so they want to get. So that's where they're talking about the honor. So you'll know. It's just like soccer. You'll know a lot of things about people once you play a game with them.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Wow.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. I also love to play poker. So I don't know if you guys like poker, but that's another one of my passions.
Russell is a poker player.
So
we'll
have to play one day.
Sure. Do you play cash?
I do, yeah.
Where do you play?
Because the World Series is happening right now. One of these days I want to play the World Series, but I'll play at Commerce every once in a while just to have fun.
What stakes?
Probably like 300 to 500, no limit.
3-5 no limit?
Yeah, so I think it's a true game when you play no limit.
Like 3-5 capped. It's capped at a 3-5 buy-in.
No. It's $300 to $500 buy-in, and then it's no limit. So this is some of the bigger games, but I'd like to just have fun. I've networked through it too. So
yeah, I don't know what you're talking about because I know nothing about poker.
Right.
But
we should play then, Scott.
Yeah, right. Well, I could just have beginner's luck.
No,
you never know. Or who knows? Maybe I'd cheat.
I have a charity poker tournament every year that I started for the Arcadia Association of Realtors, and we might bring it back now because we've had it a couple years off because of COVID. But I'd love to invite you guys because it's a fun event. It's $25 and all goes to charity.
Oh, yeah.
But again, it's a good way to do it. And we just did one for my office.
And where do you do it?
That one, we usually get a hotel that donates it. So we've done it at the DoubleTree in Monrovia.
And then you just set up a bunch of tables?
Yeah. So we usually sometimes hire dealers. So I just did one at my office last Friday, actually. Someone else, our committee, set that up. But I think he raised $2,000 for one of the local, I think, shelters in the area, in the San Gabriel Valley. So it's a good way to do a charity function. There's a lot of people that you won't expect, like the Russells of the world that will come out.
Yeah.
But it's just a good way to meet people, and it's for a good cause.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I really enjoy. What do you enjoy about poker?
So now I like putting the pressure on people. So I've learned I'm an aggressive player now, and I'll play a lot of different hands. So I'll either do you dirty. It depends if you play 7-2 or something 5-6 suited. But I just like the sport of it. So I like the challenge and like just the dynamics. It's like chess.
And you read people?
I'm not the best reader, and I think people probably can read me, and that's probably why I won't play big stakes because I'm not a professional. But I do think I'm getting a lot better.
See, that was like so much information that I have now to play against.
I know, no. So he's trying to pitch to find out when he plays me
because
what type of player I am. I just told him a couple of my secrets because I'll play any two cards.
Well, I mean that for a poker player, it's all information, right?
Exactly.
What I enjoy is just watching people, learning, what they do, their habits, their little ticks or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I'm never going to play golf, and I'm never going to play poker.
Don't play poker
the rest
with
of my
us.
life.
No.
Well, the same person who said that to me, she hustled her way through college.
Playing poker?
Playing golf.
Nice.
Yeah, someone set up the games and told her when she had to lose a little bit, but she bought her first car, which was a 240 SX, and her mom was like, "Where'd you get that?" By
being a golf shark?
Hustler, yeah.
I know, that's crazy.
And Yeah, I learned that about her like later on, but
Does she still play?
yeah.
Really? Well, she should go play with her one day.
But there was a standing bet at a golf club by a guy who everybody knew was a jerk, and it was $10,000 to any woman who could beat him
Heads
18
up.
holes.
Right.
And
I love it.
she returned back to the club after, I think maybe she was in college at the time, and she knew about this bet, and she said to him, "Oh, do you want me to hit off the men's tees or the women's?" And she's like, "Oh, you know, you're a lady," or some comment, derogatory comment. She's like, "No, I'll hit from the men's," and she won. She like killed
him. I
Yeah.
love that story.
And of course, the whole clubhouse heard about it and heard that he only gave her $100.
What?
Yeah,
And that's a true story.
true story. Yeah, and the amazing thing is that she remembered this guy from when she was very little. She was invited to play around. Her dad was, and so she went with her dad, and they came from humble beginnings. And the guy, I guess, insulted them or felt that they were not dressed appropriate, and then he walked off when she was like a young child.
So she had a vendetta to kick his butt.
I mean, just the opportunity presented itself. So yeah.
That's a crazy story.
Crazy
That's
story.
sad that he only paid her $100. That's not cool.
Yeah. So.
But that's a good story. That could, that'd be a good book.
Yeah. So you made a point to clarify Keller Williams Executive, right? So this is a branch that you own, or
It's
how
a
does that
franchise.
work?
So
Franchise.
I'm a part of an ownership group that owns the office. But so it's Keller Williams started in Austin, Texas, and then it's grown. But it's really a great education company. So a lot of new agents come to our company because our education is top notch.
Like you show a new realtor how to do it.
Kind of, yeah. Where other companies, there's not as much systems and a lot of training. Like I think there's training almost every day in my office. So new agents can get, and we have webinars and we have stuff on our, so either through Keller Williams or just our general office, we do a good job about mentoring new agents.
Do you benefit from their deals that they close as an office?
No. So one thing that's different about Keller Williams, they have a thing called profit sharing. So again, if the office does well, so say the office makes $100,000 in a month, then we share about 50% of our proceeds or the profits back with our agents. So the agents that help the office grow, if they've referred somebody and they joined the office, then they have something called profit share where they can get some money back. So it's a win-win, and that's what one of the big things I've learned from Keller Williams.
And how many agents do you have right now?
We started about maybe 5 years ago, and I think right now we have about 350 agents. So we've done a good job about, and again, real estate's always a circular door where there's a lot of people coming in the industry all the time, a lot of people moving offices. So we just had one of our investor meetings, but our office is doing well.
But you'll see some adjustment, depending on the real estate cycle.
Correct. And we're going into, with inflation and
new
recession,
cycle now.
it's going to, we're looking at possibly, so our chief economist, Jordan Levine, says there could be a possible adjustment down of the tune of like 15 to 30%, he says. I don't know if it's going to go that much, but just knowing what I know, being in the business 21 years, properties have sold. Like, so I sold a couple condos in Montrose this year. So nice little pocket of great schools, really quiet, or, good area. Nothing sold in the 800,000. I priced it in the 7s, and then it sold for like 911 and then 925, where that property should have sold $70,000-$80,000 less than that. And I don't know why it praised. The second one I picked because it was a cash offer. First one had a big down payment, and we were able to get that through, and that set the comp and set the market because we broke records in the city of Montrose for condos.
Really?
So again, but because of that, I mean, that's still inflated. So gas is inflated, house prices are inflated, everything's inflated right now. So I think that there has to be kind of adjustment down, and that's why the feds have, raised the rates quite a bit. I think they're floating around 6% right now. But because of that, last year at this time was maybe like 3.75. So you're talking about 2.1, or more than 2 points more.
Yeah.
And the affordability factor is a big one right now.
Right.
So they're just not affordable. So buyers have to take a stand at a certain price. That's why we're saying that sellers are going to sell. Maybe, I think this year is going to be okay because of the inventory problems. So I think this is still the last greatest year to sell your house for top dollar. Mm-hmm. That's why my listing presentation this morning went a little long because he was asking a lot of questions, so I apologize for that. But, I think that later on the sellers are going to sell are going to have to be more reasonable about their price. Where again, yeah, that property sold for $1 million last year across the street, but the rates are different. The market's different. I think you're going to see a lot more inventory, properties staying on the market longer, and therefore properties that sell, they might take an offer that's a little less than they wanted to, but that's why the market will adjust.
Well, I like to get into more of what you see, what your predictions are for the future, and also for our listeners, questions they may have about buying a home, refinancing their home, or what locations, anything you have to share with them. But let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Let's take a moment to thank our sponsor, Warmoth Law. At Warmoth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. They've been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com or call them today at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast. All right, we're back with Ryan Asao. So Ryan, before the break, you were sharing some of your perspective on what's going to happen. What else do you see happening in the real estate market here in Southern California? And by the way, today is June 22nd, 2020. So people may be listening to this show and not know, what point in time. I'm sorry, 2022.
I was going to say 2020. Was it 2020?
Yeah.
Well, it's either June 20th, 2022,
there you
or
go,
June 26th.
Oh, it's June 22.
It's 6/22/22.
That's why you got mixed up, right? So I always tell people my pro tip is the best time to buy a house is when you could afford the payment. So again, you do your math, as long as you guys can comfortably afford that payment, it's a good time to buy. On the seller side, a lot of people are moving out of the state, unfortunately, because of California politics or, just the cost of living. So we're seeing a big migration of people moving out of the state. So they're going to a lot of areas that, for taxes, Vegas, Idaho, Texas, Florida. It seems like some of those big areas that you can get a little bit of a tax break. People are cashing out on their houses right now because it's, they're selling it for good money, and then they're moving into another area. So when you move into other areas, though, I know people hate to hear you're from California because we're coming with cash and, and trying to, but a lot of times now it's a lateral move where if you go to Denver, if you go to, Seattle, it's almost a lateral move where you're not,
Yeah, that's amazing because I grew up in Seattle, and, we always knew if a Californian was coming up to buy that, they'd have a lot of money and they could buy the nicest house in the neighborhood and pay all cash, and they'd still have a lot of money left over. But now, I see prices in Seattle. It's as bad as California.
True. And that's why we're saying that it's got to slow down a little bit because people can't be, it was like when I was in the 2008 market, and I thought from 2005 to 2008 when it was just that boom and the crazy loans were being done, I never thought it was going to ever stop. But now knowing what I know, I said, there's got to be a ceiling and it's got to slow down a little bit as rates.
Well,
but
the
rates
thing is,
were,
it's like there's a limited amount of money. So if you have $1 million, you could go to LA, or you could still go to Austin, Texas and get a good deal. So, but that money is going to start moving there now.
Right.
And those prices are going to start coming up. There'll be a leveling off effect.
I believe so.
That's what happened in Seattle, but part of it was because of the economy just growing so incredibly up there as well. But, you can't have $1 million property here and a $100,000 property in Detroit. It's not going to hold up over time. That Detroit property is going to come up.
Right.
And it's going to all level off eventually.
I believe so.
So the money is going outward right now.
Right.
Is that what do you see any foreign money coming in now? Or
there's still not as much cash out there, but there's still a lot of buyers that have saved up a lot of money or have sold a house and have equity in their house and they're putting big down payments. But yeah, not as much foreign buyers. So they're buying all cash. It's mostly for a little bit too that what's drove up the market too were a lot of institutions that were buying multiple properties and not selling it. So that's one of the reasons that we're in the situation we are too, because you have a lot of companies that were buying these properties now doing Airbnb. So we're educating a lot of clients about becoming, investor owners, where the house that I was just at this morning, I said, this is a great property because it's Temple City Schools. So great location. So it's right down the street. But it had a 3-car garage. in a big lot, like a 10,000 square foot lot. So I said, the buyer that's going to probably buy this property is going to maybe live in the front house, convert the garage, because it's a 3-car garage, maybe one of the units into a studio, like a Airbnb studio. And we have clients making $2,300 to $2,600 on a 1-bedroom studio per month, and that's going to help pay for that mortgage for the front house. So I think you're going to see a lot of buyers moving into that type of world where they're doing Airbnb. I just had a meeting with my team, and I saw the money that some of our clients were making because we were managing some of our clients for their Airbnbs. So I just told myself, I was like, all right, I'm going to get all this stuff out of my garage because I live in Monrovia in a big lot. So I have a granny flat for my mom's house, and then I have a garage that just has a bunch of my old junk in there. I'm going to take all that stuff out, either throw it away or maybe get a small storage and then do Airbnb there, and it's going to basically pay for my mortgage. So again, I just saw the light too about stuff like that. There's opportunities there anywhere. So I think there are some opportunities right now too for investor owners or people looking that they're taking a hit on the stock market that are looking to park money in a safer investment.
I have a friend who's doing that strategy, and in fact, their strategy is to live in the small unit and Airbnb the front in order to get more money and pay it down faster. So yeah, people are definitely.
How's he doing?
I don't know.
Yeah, so I heard that the first 6 months are hard, but it's all about reviews. So if you're highly reviewed and you respond really quickly, then you're basically rented out the whole month, and you're doing very, very well.
And people can do like short-term rentals, 6 months, right?
Some people, some cities like Arcadia have like restrictions on Airbnb. So one of our clients too, I think she has to rent it for at least 25 days at a time.
Oh yeah, because there's it's difficult to evict them or something after.
No, I think it's a city
time.
thing because they don't want Airbnb, so they're trying to say, okay, well, you could do Airbnb, but it has to be a certain amount of time.
Oh, okay.
So cities are trying to, a lot of cities are making different rules at the city council level to change that.
I see. Okay. Probably the listeners, I know we've had at least one other realtor on here, but what would you say to the listener who's looking for a realtor? What should they be looking for?
So I tell everybody it's like and trust. It's basically if the person that you would use is someone that you like and you get along with, and then the other thing is you have to trust them. So I tell people the 2 things you look for in your realtor when people walk into my open houses is you have to be, you look for a realtor that's a great negotiator. So that's something that I pride myself on. And then on the buying side, for sure, you have to be well connected. So well connected means that's why I network with all these, I'm so involved with the board, I'm so involved with the, industry, because if you have you're looking for a realtor like myself that has connections, that has, can get your offer accepted in other areas, then I'll refer you to somebody else in like Seattle or anywhere in the country. But on the local side, I know most of the top agents. So I know probably, it's the 80-20 rule. It's 80% of the top or 20% of the business is done by, the top 20% of the realtors do 80% of the business. So the top players are usually close friends of mine, or I know the owner brokers of the office. So a lot of times to get offers accepted, we're doing everything we can in this last crazy market because you're removing your appraisal contingency, you're doing all these weird things, no inspection contingency. So our job is to try to get the offer into escrow. So luckily, because of my relationships, I make a really nice package to the seller. So everything that they'll ever ask for is there. But I also make sure that if I know the manager of the office, a lot of times last year, we have some other tricks, some of them that are in that gray area. So I'll talk about them on the podcast. But it's all about the art of the deal. So usually I can get more information because I know the agent, the listing agent, or if I know the manager who the agent respects, I'll make a call to the manager of Remax, and they'll say, hey, so-and-so's a good guy. I like him. He's honest, and he'll close the deal. So she'll usually accept my offer, or the agent will tell me, hey, look, you're $10,000 lower. If you come up a little higher, I'll consider, accepting your offer. So it really comes down to relationships.
You shared with our listeners that you play poker. I know you just recently went fishing. What else do you like to do outside of your real estate?
So I like to go to sporting events. I love concerts. I love to dance. So I was just at EDC.
You love to dance?
A client of mine just called me and said, hey, we're doing like a table or like something like that. So I'd never experienced that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, so I like to dance, like to play sports, spend time with the family.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're going to find out some more that you like in specifically the San Gabriel Valley.
Okay, Ryan, what are your SGV three things that you like to go see, you like to experience, you know?
So the three things that I like to do, or in the San Gabriel Valley, is one is I've actually spent a lot of time at Mount Sac. So I'm actually the vice president of the Mount Sac Foundation. It's a community college in the area. It's actually, I think, the largest community college in the state. So it's like a four-year university. Yeah. My son, who just graduated from Damien, is actually going to attend Mount Sac next semester. So what I love about them is they're doing some amazing things on campus. So I just spoke in front of about 3,000 people because I'm the Mount Sac Foundation is the charitable arm of the college. So it's super rewarding, and it's probably one of my favorite things that I do every year. Is we gave out about $450,000 to individuals that, you know, and these are kids that are the future of America, but I think that they're not as well off as most people. So they really need this $1,500 or $3,000 to tell someone that we believe in you and we're trying to help you out and give you this money to you know, go on and finish your degree or finish your training and stuff like that. Yeah. So that's what, and if you didn't know, I think 80% of all the firefighters and nurses in California are actually trained at the city college level.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I know I like Mount Sac a lot. I used to go sort of wander around the campus all the time because there are so many types of events that are, you know, always going on there.
Right.
You know, it's like you say, it's the biggest community college in the state. It's just a lot of activities.
Yeah, they're doing really good things. So every time we go back, we're always meeting, and we just raised money for the new stadium we built. So again, that's a big project. It has a little museum, education center.
I think Jay Chen is on the board of trustees.
Correct.
There.
He's a friend.
He's has been a guest on our show.
Excellent. Yeah, Jay Chen is one of our trustees for the college.
Yeah, and I think also
if you're from the San Gabriel Valley, probably you're familiar with the acronym Mount Sac. But what is that, and where is it? Oh,
Mount Sac is it stands for Mount San Antonio College, and it's in the city of Walnut.
Walnut. So
it serves a lot of the San Gabriel Valley families. So a fun fact is, I think probably about a third of the kids that graduated from Damien, I heard when we went to my son's graduation, said that they were going to Mount Sac. So it was exciting because those are really good kids. And again, Mount Sac's a great option for people that don't, so I told my son too, I said, if you don't really know what you want to do, save some money, you're going to get a great education. He wants to do the arts, but I'm going to put him in touch with the Dean of Arts. There's a great leadership program called, I think it's called Achieve. A friend of mine, Audrey, runs that program and started that program, but there's some amazing mentoring, and I've met some absolutely amazing kids at that school.
Nice.
So I try to do what I can to help it out.
Yeah, well, that's a good number one choice.
Second one would probably be, I love to play golf. So my dad was a member of Glendora and Villa Verde Once Upon a Time Country Club. So I joined the City Club. So I don't know if you've heard of the City Club. Downtown, yeah. So it's more of like a networking or a social club. But I like to play golf, and I used it for not only networking. So I was the chair of the Young Executives Committee at one point, and on the Board of Governors. But then I play golf. So me and my dad love to play golf. So I've actually, through that, I'm able to play golf at different locations like Old Ranch and Porter Valley, Braemar, Coto de Caza. So I usually, if I have some extra time, I'm usually playing golf with my dad. So that's something that I love to do.
Oh, yeah.
I have a friend, if you want to play around with her.
Yeah, of course. Is that the one that hustled?
Yeah, I'm just joking, yeah. No, it's not the one that hustled, but
we'll have to play
she's a pro. She's a pro golfer. Yeah.
I love to play with people that are good.
And she's also been a guest on the show.
Really?
Yeah. She's one of the leading drivers on the
tour
LPGA.
right now.
Yeah.
Right. Nice.
Yeah. And she's from Arcadia.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Very cool. But I love this.
I think over 280 average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
How far can you drive?
So I just got a new driver. I just got the new Titleist, M2 or something like that. But I probably can drive around 230 to 240, something like that.
Okay, so don't place any bets.
No, she will kill me. She probably would.
And she makes a point to say average because, she can drive over 300. Actually, online, there's a video of her, I think at age 9, driving 300 or maybe 12.
Really?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
It's all form, but I played with my dad this week and we played pretty good. I shot a 89, so I don't get to play that, or 88.
Well, that's good. I would shoot probably a 120.
Yeah.
So. 89 is not bad.
Or 88.
Yeah.
So that was not bad. It's like your phone number.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's
This
a good
lucky
number. I break 90.
Yeah.
That's a great day for me.
Yeah.
And then the third place that I like to spend time with is probably downtown Monrovia, because I live in Monrovia. I've seen that town. I've been in that town for the last 20-something years. But the downtown area is really cool.
So is downtown different from Old Town?
No, it's the same thing, Old Town.
Okay.
So I live right up the
right.
street from Old Town. So,
that's a very nice
a lot of
place.
my friends are starting to move in that little area too.
Yeah.
So it's a cool little place, has a really nice feel. There's a lot of great downtowns, like you talked about. Alhambra has a great downtown now. Obviously, Pasadena, Old Town's good.
Right.
But Monrovia is a kind of a quaint old time feel, but really
Yeah.
Monrovia friendly. So and we're starting to get some new places. I think that I heard that, what is that? Raising Cane's is coming in, and maybe there's another big chain that's going to be exciting. Maybe Chick-fil-A. I think Chick-fil-A and Raising Cane's are going to be moving into the area. So we're looking for those anchor tenants to have a draw. But there's some cool places in Monrovia.
No, I like Old Town. It's really nice.
The street fair on Friday nights is fun. So things are starting to come back, and now they're doing the concerts in the park. So and then they'll do for July 4th or 7th or July 4th. They're going to be doing, I think, one of the cities that are still doing fireworks because of fire stuff, and they have to use water, so everybody's trying to be a little more drought conscious nowadays.
My friend is the owner of the Yogurt Land up near the top there.
I was just thinking of that.
Who is that?
Land.
I know. I think I know who that is too.
Marcus.
Yeah.
You know Marcus?
I think I know Marcus, and I also just met the owner of the Robex. It's a friend of mine. It's an old Temple City guy.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of old Rams out there. So
Robex is like
Rams.
a juice place?
Yeah, a juice place. So similar to, that's right, different but similar to Yogurtland. But Yogurtland's been great. My kids go there all the time.
That's funny because I was just thinking of it as we were talking about it. The Yogurt Land up at the top there.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's the beginning of the old town.
Yeah.
I think when he first went in there was two other yogurt places. Maybe one was Pinkberry and another was a small mom and pop. You can throw a stone right through their window, and I think he's survived that. So and for the listener, Old Monrovia is on Myrtle, right north of the freeway.
Yeah, probably between Huntington, or no, a little north of Huntington and Foothill. So south of Foothill. Okay. For about 6 blocks.
Awesome. Thank you. So Ryan, for people, if they want to get in contact with you, or where can they find you?
The easiest way to contact me is my cell phone. So it's probably 626-253-4557. Or they could email me at Ryan, RYAN, at think, THINK, RE like real estate, and link, LINK as in kite.com. So Think Relink is my team within the brokerage.
Awesome. All right. Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your story with us and with our listeners.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in again. Remember, you can always reach us at sgvmasterkey.com. Send us an email at info@sgvmasterkey.com, and we'll see you again in another week for the next episode.
Thanks for checking out another episode of the SGV Master Key. You can find the full back catalog of the SGV Master Key at sgvmasterkey.com and wherever you get your podcasts. This show was produced and edited by Russell Mono and Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks again for listening or watching. We'll see you again real soon in the next episode.
Nice mother. No, kind of mother.